Well, I'm Donald Hamming, and I'm with Florida Tech Crimson, and I'm joined with the Executive Director of Modern Language Association, Paula Krebs. So thanks for talking to me.
Sure.
And I got a hold of you guys because my school is only teaching Spanish this fall, and I thought that was really uncommon. And I wanted to see what you guys thought the problems would be with that, and if you're seeing any changes since the pandemic with higher education and foreign language offerings.
Okay. This isn't really pandemic related. I mean, it may be peripherally related to the pandemic, but this is a trend we're starting to see in some universities as a cost-cutting move. It's a very, very short-sighted cost-cutting move because it shortchanges the students totally. And you probably saw the coverage of West Virginia University last year, which cut its entire foreign language department and then was forced to put back some positions in languages because there was so much pushback against the university for cutting its languages. Basically, the president said, oh, they can just use apps, which is not the way to learn a language. I know this because I've been studying Duolingo, Spanish for almost 4 years now, and I still can't understand people speaking in Spanish on the street, except for this, a stray word here and there. So you really need language instruction. But what we're seeing, what we saw in our language enrollments report, um, is that enrollments rose pretty steady across time from this time we started doing the report in 1958. They took a sharp downturn in light of the economic crisis of 2008, 2009. Right after that, the federal government stopped funding a lot of stuff, and universities stopped funding a lot of language learning. And there was a drop in enrollments because there was a drop in funding and a cut of positions. So that's the context in which this is more than the pandemic. It's really from the economic crisis of the 2000 aughts from till now. And I mean, because we do this survey of language enrollments across the country, we see the places where it's rising, places where it's falling, and we are seeing that the places where language enrollments are going up are the places where schools are investing in language learning. It's kind of a no-brainer, really. If you cut, you're going to lose enrollments, and if you add positions and funding, your enrollments will grow. It's pretty simple. But we're what we're trying to work with language faculty on is making the case to the students of the value of language learning better, not just to students, because students want to enroll. It's that, schools are cutting languages despite student desire to take these courses. I thought you were focused on engineering was a really interesting question. You wrote to us about that, because if you look at something like the University of Rhode Island is a really good example of the way they combine language learning with professional focuses like engineering, but also they have, when they do global programs, so political science, things like that, they require language learning. And that's the way to jumpstart it, is to require it, in the first place. And then students see the value of, they take it, then they kind of, bond with it, and then they want to take more. But universities that cut their language requirements are the ones who are going to see a big dip in language learning, because that's one fewer course students have to take. So they'll just take more courses in their major, which is very short-sighted. We find you had asked, and I want to give you some information on this. You had asked about German and engineering. And there is a really close connection between German and engineering, because of engineering being, such a big deal in Germany, and tech in general. But in fact, and again, the University of Rhode Island has had a very long German and engineering double major program that involves study abroad in Germany and whatnot. But because of expanding markets in the Middle East and China right now, Arabic and Chinese are increasingly important in engineering education.
I was going to
Arabic
ask.
is, go ahead, what?
I'm sorry. Well, I was going to ask you about that because we actually have a rival college in Daytona, not far, and they are more of a military-based engineering school, and they are teaching Mandarin, Russian, and Arabic.
Exactly. And you know why that is? I mean, in addition to the political and military reasons, petrochemical engineering, you need the Arabic. That's where the work is in the petroleum industry. And so Arabic is especially important in relation to any petrochemical engineering. We're also seeing Japanese and Korean are really rising in relation to automotive engineering. And again, that's a no-brainer. The connections. I was talking to a friend who teaches at the University of Georgia, and one of her colleagues there had a couple of rural Georgia, white guys in his class, in his music class, and he found out that they were Korean majors. And he's like, they were twin brothers. And he said, why are you guys majoring in Korean? That seems unusual for, a rural Georgia student to major in Korean. And they said, well, an automotive plant moved in our area. And he thought they were going to say, and so we saw that there are career prospects there, but they didn't. They said all the kids of the Korean management went to our high school, and we got friends with them, and we got really interested in Korean culture, K-pop, K-drama, and we got really interested in their culture, and so we decided to major in Korean. And so, I mean, that's a kind of a connection. That's an economic, driver, but it's also cultural.
Mhm.
And again, Korean is the fastest growing language in the US right now. And that, again, it's a combination of economic and cultural factors driving that. A lot of Korean TV as well as music gets students interested in Korean. So that was one, I wanted to just make that clear that even for engineering, it's not just German, but it's other kinds of engineering ask for other kinds of language study and benefit from other kinds of language study.
That's
But
good to know because, yeah, because I had just been hearing about the German but I also heard Mandarin
yeah,
was now becoming more for that.
yeah.
You touched on a couple other things I was going to ask about AI. I've heard some people say, oh, because there's Google Translate, it makes the requirement for a foreign language to just be like a check mark to
Yeah,
get you through. Because
yeah.
we're still requiring well, 6 credits of foreign language, and we're a very international school. And I have a friend in one of my classes, his first language is Spanish. So he's not even
He has
able
no access to any other language. That's horrific. That is terrible. It's really, I hate to see that because it shortchanges students, opportunities for ways to grow in their careers and in their community lives. I mean, surely there are other immigrant communities besides Spanish-speaking communities in your area too. Other heritage learners who can't pursue their own languages. I mean, excuse me, we found around the country that um, language programs that do outreach to the communities in their area and offer students the chance to interact with people other than students who are speaking these languages. Those are the ones that really take off. Students want to not just study a textbook. They don't want to just use Google Translate. They want to learn about the culture. Google Translate cannot give you the cultural background for the thing you're trying to talk about. It can't give you a human connection. It can't. So again, I've been studying Duolingo Spanish. Hold on, let me tell you. I can tell you exactly how many days I've been doing this because it's on my app. So I have been studying Spanish on this app, I mean, assiduously. I have a great vocabulary for 1,472 days. And I can really barely understand people when they're talking to each other on the subway. I have arranged to have a Spanish lunch on Wednesdays here at work with everybody who speaks Spanish at the MLA so that I can practice and start practicing my listening. Because Google Translate is not going to teach me how to listen. It's not going to teach me how to speak, and it's not going to teach me how to listen, and it's certainly not going to teach me the larger cultural context. I don't understand the short-sightedness of institutions that expect their students to participate in a global economy, but don't offer them any road into that global economy,
And that's kind of something I've noticed around this school. We do have a lot of international students from India and China and
Mhm.
numerous places,
Mhm.
Middle East and everywhere. And I don't see them involved in the student groups as much because, I mean, it's not like we're unfriendly, but there's definitely not that opportunity to get to know the other cultures. And that's one of our rival school said that's why they were teaching Mandarin specifically is to get the students more engaged with each other.
Well, and
And
exactly. And if you don't have full-time faculty whose job it is to think about making those kinds of connections, they are not going to happen organically. You need faculty members who are teaching Arabic or teaching Bengali, or teaching French and are thinking, how can I get students to connect to this language? How can I get students engaged with this as a communication tool and a cultural tool? But if you're only using part-time faculty members who come in, teach one section, and then they leave, they can't invest in the students in the same way. And I mean, I know, so there's a school near here, Montclair State University in New Jersey, that has a really good Italian program. And what they do is they place their students in internships with Italian companies that are based in New York. And those students then, get to go abroad for these companies, they get to study in Italy, and they have an internship with an Italian speaking company that they can then walk right into after graduation. There are all kinds of ways of connecting with companies because it's a global economy in the US. We don't have only American companies based in the US. And the American companies we have based in the US don't only do business here. If you ask HR directors at all the industries in your area whether they would value their employees having more than one language, they will all tell you yes. But if the upper administration is not talking to the employers about what they want, they're not hearing, they're thinking somehow that's, what is it? Selfish faculty members who want to have jobs, or, is it students who, unwisely want to study German? Why would you not want to teach these languages in an institution of higher education? It shortchanges students. That's the main thing. Where we've seen pushback from students, we sometimes see results. And I would urge you to talk to your fellow students to make a fuss. You guys are the ones that pay the tuition. You guys have a PR value for your administration. And I would urge you, to say, you're shortchanging our ability to succeed in the global marketplace by not offering us opportunities to study French, German, Portuguese, Italian, Chinese, especially Chinese, Arabic, Japanese, Korean. It's not hard to add these positions. You don't have to add tenure lines right off the bat. You know, you can get people to teach these languages and offer students something that really will help them after they graduate. No company just does business in one corner of Florida. None of them does. It's a shame. But did you get our report? Did you get the link to the report on language enrollments?
Yeah, I that's what got me in contact with you. It was from like 2021.
Yeah,
So
that's the data's from 2021. It's published, analyzed and published in 2023. Look at the case studies as well, because they're a separate bit of the report. And look at the stories of what other colleges and universities are doing. That's good ammunition for you in talking to your own institution. Look what this institute, look what North Dakota State did. You wouldn't think they would have a lot of languages, but they do, How do they make it work, And if your language faculty at your institution want some strategies, they should contact us because we will talk to anybody and give them strategies to try to build languages back up at your institution. But I would say motivate the students, get the students making a fuss. You're shortchanging us. If you guys weren't teaching computer science, your students would be up in arms. But you're not giving your computer science students the ability to converse in another language. It's just as bad for them.
yes, I do hear the problem is coming from the top of
Of course
administration.
it is. Of course it is.
Uh,
It's a very short-sighted approach to saving money. It is absolutely short-sighted. West Virginia University, their language department was actually making money and they cut them because, you know why they're cutting them? They cut them because you don't have majors. And administrations that think that majors are the only thing that matter that's where they get in trouble. If they look at student interest and the results when students take these courses, if they track student success, they would see a different story. If all you count is majors, it's very short-sighted. That's like saying you shouldn't teach math because you have very few math majors. Everybody needs math. Same thing with languages, because students are not majoring in it doesn't mean they don't benefit for their careers and their personal lives after they graduate. It's a very short-sighted administrative decision when you base it on majors. And that's what they're doing, I'm sure.
I mean, I got my associate's degree from more of a liberal arts college style, and this being more of a tech school style. Is
Mhm.
that like the national trend? It's like it's more less languages are offered at a
Some
tech
tech
school.
schools, Georgia Tech has a fantastic languages program. MIT has very good languages. So they should look at other tech schools and see what they're doing with languages because there's absolutely no correlation between tech school and dropping languages there that we've seen. I mean, there's one in New Jersey that doesn't have languages, but they're the only one I know.
Well, what also I found was with Embry-Riddle, our rival, they're teaching the Mandarin, Russian, and Arabic, and
Yeah,
no like Latin alphabet languages.
that's
Um,
funny.
yeah, do you think I was going to ask, if you found that
That's
odd?
funny.
And then if what would you say to critics who say offering languages with a different writing system is too challenging for students?
Oh, I mean, talk about short-sighted, I mean, these are the systems, these languages are the countries that have the most economic relationship with us, especially around tech stuff. Again, Cyrillic, languages and Arabic and Asian languages. Students who are ambitious, in terms of tech fields, understand the value of studying these languages. But it's not just that. I mean, German is a perfectly good language to pair with a tech major. French is as well. I mean, there are lots of places in Africa where you can speak Portuguese, you could speak French, there are lots of parts of the world that are former colonies, you know, where a lot of the European-based languages are still really valuable. If you're talking about petroleum engineering, for example, or various kinds of geochemical stuff, it doesn't need to be, you know, just Russian, Mandarin and Arabic or whatever. But it's you have to give students a starting place. The high schools are not starting those languages for students. It's rare that a high school is going to, these days, is going to be teaching Russian or Arabic. So that community colleges and four-year colleges have to start, and they have to start from the freshman year if students are going to get anywhere near proficient enough to be able to do business in those languages, you know?
So, are there any languages you would like to be taught nationwide at every higher level?
No,
Just
I mean, I think it makes sense that some schools teach some languages and others teach other languages. I don't think every school needs to teach every language, but I think every school needs to keep an eye out on its area, especially if it's a regional institution. It needs to see what are the needs in this area. What would be, you know, where if we send, you know, offer 4 years of a language and a study abroad program and a student can get really proficient, how will that help local industries? You know, what languages would be most valuable for local industries? I mean, 10 years ago, you couldn't have predicted that Korean would have the steep rise that it's having. So yay for Korean, you know, it's doing really well. 20 years ago, Arabic was doing really well because of 9/11. Everybody all of a sudden realized, uh-oh, we better get some experts in Arabic languages for military and strategic purposes. Those things shift, you know. A few years ago, they realized that the post-Cold War drop-off in the study of German, Ukrainian, Polish, you know, was a problem, that people weren't studying those languages anymore, and all of a sudden Russia and Ukraine became much more important. So you can't predict. You just want to look at an area and make sure there's somewhere somebody can go to study Swahili, you know, somewhere somebody can go to study Portuguese. Every school doesn't have to have everything. And I wouldn't say that every school has to have every European language, but I think it's really important to have an Asian language, a Middle Eastern language, and a European language. You know, I mean, students can start with one and move into others. What other questions you have? I got another meeting coming up in 4 minutes.
that's okay. I think we covered everything really well, and I
Well,
really appreciate you
I
taking.
hope that, I mean, will they let you cross enroll in German somewhere else?
I was told there is a school not far that I wanted to go to the summer for that had a German class, but they said my financial aid wouldn't transfer up there because
See, this kind of structural barrier really pisses me off. It's really, really bad. And you need to petition, you need to say, if you're not gonna offer the course, you have to make it possible for me to take the course. You need to get on them about that.
they said it was possible for me to take it there and be a transient student, but I wouldn't get any of my federal Pell Grant or my student loans because they were coming to this school.
Well,
So
then
that would
somebody
be,
at your school needs to start a fund that will enable students like you to take languages since they're unwilling to teach them. Somebody needs to start a fund to pay your tuition. That's what I would say. That's really, really annoying. You should write to the National Council of Teachers of German, AATG, American Association of Teachers of German, and ask them if there's anything they could recommend for you, ways to advocate for German at your institution, or you getting to take German somewhere else. You know, in this day and age of Zoom, and there's no reason why they should not be having somebody from somewhere else be able to get in an online German course and pay your school's tuition for it. It should be possible. I gotta run though.
that's
Um,
great though. Thank you
Good
so much.
luck, man.
All right.
Thanks.
Have a good
Thanks
one.
for getting in
Thank you.
touch.
Yep.
I'll send you the recording.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Bye.